I want to start by thanking Rishi Sunak and the Tories for fucking off into oblivion. They say, don't they, that the Tory party are the most successful ruling class party in Europe, and that they've been an election winning machine for 200 years. Not anymore. Not anymore after last night. And I tell you what, to see the party of racism, of British capital, of Food Bank Britain, of Grenfell, of the Windrush scandal, of inequality, of imperialism, to see that party get a kicking in the polls, everyone should be celebrating that tonight. And I'm sure that each of us have our highlight from the election night. It might have been the end of Liz Truss. It might have been the end of Penny Mordaunt. It might have been the end of Grant Shapps. But my sweetest moment was Jacob Rees-Mogg. To see the man, the ruling class warrior, who looks, who sounds, who acts like he's from 1852, the last time the Tories got such a bad result, to see him sent packing should give us all pleasure. But there is a but, and Joe talked about it. In the celebrations, there's a new danger now in Britain. And that danger is Nigel Farage. That danger is Nigel Farage and Reform. They've got a project to take Britain down the road of Europe, to drag British politics to the right, and they're doing it by using racism, by using Islamophobia, and by demonising migrants. It is the politics of the gutter. And the way you fight the politics of despair is you need the politics of hope. And if there is one man who is the opposite to the politics of hope, if there's one man who could suck hope out of any room, his name is Sir Keir Starmer. Starmer is the man who tells us that there's no money for the climate emergency, there's no money for a pay rise for teachers like Samara. He says that it's not that the Tories are too racist to migrants, it's that they're not competent enough in it, and he's a loyal servant on Israel and imperialism. And I tell you what, that's why one of my favourite moments of election night was seeing Jeremy give Keir Starmer a bloody nose for the fucking war. And I'm delighted that Jeremy's chosen to come and celebrate with us tomorrow. He's down on the timetable to be talking about poetry. I think we're going to try and get him to talk about some of the bigger things that have happened in the last 24 or 48 hours. But it's not just Jeremy. Down the road in Holborn and St Pancras, Andrew Feinstein, 20% against Keir Starmer. Very good. Leanne Mohammed in Ilford, 500 votes away from getting rid of West Streeting. And to be honest, our very own Maxine Bowler running a fantastic campaign in Sheffield. All of those votes are about Palestine, and they're about much more, and they show us that it's possible in Britain, despite the dangers of reform, it's possible to build a bigger and fighting left in this country. And the key question for that left is if it's fighting and if it's building struggle. And that's why I'm so glad that tonight's Friday night rally, we have a panel of fighters on this stage. Everyone on this stage is a fighter. And to be honest, we're going to need a lot more of that, because we've got a big fight on our hands. It is a fight about what kind of world we want to live in. Are we going to live in a world that stands by while what happens in Gaza, while a genocide takes place? And it's not even standing by. Ghassan talked about it. It's enabling it. It's funding it. It's sending the weapons. It's sending the political support. 40,000 dead. 4,000 children under rubble. 16 years of a siege of Gaza. 76 years of the Nakba, all of it enabled by the system. And that's why one of the central questions for us at Marxism Festival this weekend is how the movement in solidarity with Palestine can win. And we have to start by saying, you don't win by making compromises. For too long, the Palestinians have been told that they have to compromise with a genocidal apartheid regime, that they have to trust in the peace process, that they trust in the UN, that they trust in Oslo. What's been the result of that? What's happened is that argument to make the Palestinians compromise has meant more apartheid, more ethnic cleansing, and more genocidal assaults. And that's why one of the messages we have to send from this weekend is that if we have learned anything over the last 8 months, it's that the two-state solution is a sham. Oslo is a sham. The peace process is a sham. The only way we'll see a just solution for the Palestinians is for one democratic state from the River Jordan right through to the Mediterranean Sea. That's the kind of vision we have to be fighting for. But to be honest, and Ghassan talked about this, there are other fights as well. Because as they send billions in aid to Israel, as they send billions to Ukraine, they tell us that teachers can't have a pay rise. They tell us that there's no money for schools, for hospitals. They tell us we have to accept Food Bank Britain with 4 million children growing up in poverty, and they tell us that we're all in it together. Tell that to Richard Walker, the new donor to the Labour Party. He's switched sides from the Tories. He's worth 250 million, and he's gone behind Keir Starmer. He's backing Keir Starmer because he knows that Starmer's not going to lift a finger to address inequality in Britain. And therefore, the kind of strikes that Samara talked about, we need to see more of it under a Starmer government. The union leaders will tell us to wait. They'll say give him a chance. Have you ever, if you look at the poverty and deprivation in British society, have you ever been less inclined to give someone a honeymoon period than Keir Starmer? So we need to see more of that kind of resistance. The truth is, we can't talk about winning victories unless we take on their biggest weapon. And the biggest weapon at the moment is what Matilda talked about. It's about the question of divide and rule. It's about how they use racism and Islamophobia to try and divide us. Joe mentioned Farage, but look at Europe. Look at Italy, where Meloni, someone who comes from the political dynasty of Mussolini, is now the Prime Minister. Look at Germany. Look at Germany, the place where the horrors of the Holocaust took place, an organisation, the AfD, with a neo-Nazi wing, are polling 15%. And look at France. Look at France, where Le Pen, from a dynasty of fascists herself, can win a parliamentary election. We are closer to the 1930s than we've ever been. But we have to say that we can fight back against it. And what we have to say is that you don't fight racism by compromising it or making concessions. You don't fight racism by saying that there are good migrants and bad migrants. You don't fight racism by saying that some Islamophobia is acceptable but others isn't. You fight racism by challenging it. And that means we have to build a movement to stop Farage. We have to smash Tommy Robinson on the 27th of July. But we have to say that every refugee and migrant is welcome in Britain, no matter where you're from. The same applies to other fights. Look at the culture wars. Trans and non-binary people are being made a scapegoat in our society. And again, you don't fight that bigotry by compromising it. You don't say there's a debate. You don't say there's a discussion to be had. You don't say you're not sure. You say trans women are women, trans men are men, non-binary The point is, if we don't have unity, then our side is weaker. And we've got some big, big fights ahead. And what this weekend is about It's about saying that all of those fights are linked. The genocide in Palestine, fascism in Europe, the fight against poverty in Britain, climate catastrophe. This weekend is about discussing and debating how do we press the stop button to say we're not going down that road. And we are best equipped to do that if we remember two things. The first is that all of these problems didn't fall from the sky. The children killed in the genocide in Gaza, the children in Zimbabwe starving now because of famine and drought because of climate change, the 4.1 million children growing up in poverty in Britain, all of those problems flow from a system that puts profit before people at every turn, and it's a system that can't be reformed. And the second thing we should remember is that our power doesn't lie in Parliament. It doesn't lie in waiting for Keir Starmer. Our real power lies in the streets and in the workplaces and in the universities. If we've learned anything from the movement for Palestine, it's that getting people onto the streets, occupying their universities, taking over train stations, that's where our real power lies. And look, sometimes it can seem like we live in very dark times, but the truth is that if we channel that power, we can find a way out. And to do that, we have to say that we're not going to accept the new normal. We don't think it's normal that while poverty skyrockets and the rich get richer, we don't think it's normal that when the planet burns, Shell and BP are making record profits. We don't think it's normal that refugees are left to drown in the Channel and it's considered a fact of life. And we don't think it's normal that we stand aside and watch a genocide taking place in front of our eyes. We have to say that another world is possible and that revolutionary change is necessary. And the final thing I want to finish on is I want to say that, look, changing the world is not an easy task. Revolution won't happen overnight, and we face an enemy, a ruling class who are prepared to take us over the cliff edge. It's a big battle we've got on our hands. In that battle, the question of organisation matters. And if there's anyone in the room tonight who's not a member of the Socialist Workers' Party, if you join us, we can guarantee you absolutely nothing. We can't guarantee you what will happen down the line. We can't guarantee you the future. What we can offer you is the hope and the dignity of fighting for a better world, rather than reconciling your heart and mind with the horrors of the current one. That is a vision worth fighting for. Join the Socialist Workers' Party. You're the leadership. Let's fight to change the world.